Back in June, I set a goal for myself to make 32 videos throughout the summer talking about all 32 NFL teams and what they did during the 2025 NFL Draft. But if it's not apparent by the fact that I just hit the halfway point a couple days ago and we're now in August, things haven't exactly gone according to plan. But I'm not going to pivot, I'm going to stand strong and get done what I said I was going to get done. So here in the month of August, we've got 17 videos talking about the remaining teams, handing out grades for every single draft pick, and just giving my thoughts and analysis on some of these players and their fits. A couple things to keep in mind before we jump into this. Number one, since I am recording these in August, I'm not taking like training camp or any off-season additions into account. So if there was a signing, a trade, anything like that after the draft, that doesn't factor into the grades. I wrote these grades down. I came up with my thoughts back in April and May, and I'm sticking with them out of fairness to the teams that I talked about way back in June. Additionally, if a player gets cut, which is unfortunately the reality for this time of year for some of these day 3 players and some of the UDFAs I might even decide to talk about, I will still be talking about them in the video. They still deserve their flowers. They got drafted to the NFL. That's no easy feat. They still deserve to be talked about. But also, someone might come along here in a little bit and find out their team signed one of these guys and might want to hear my opinions on them, something like that. So they will still be included and they will still be factored into the actual draft grade, because again, these grades are from April and May and not August. And the most important thing, because people seem to forget about this, I am just giving my opinions here. I am not some oracle that knows exactly how these picks are going to play out. I'm not infallible. I get things wrong. I have in the past, I will in the future, and I'll probably get things wrong in these videos. But at the end of the day, I like sharing my opinions because I watch a lot of film, I put a lot of time into this, and people seem to like my opinions, so I'm going to continue to share them. So if you come into my comments and say, I trust my GM more than I trust some guy on the internet, I can't really argue with you there. I'm not trying to say I know better than your GM or your scouts or your coach or whoever. These are just my opinions at the end of the day. But with all that being said, let's go ahead and jump into talking about whatever team we're going to be talking about today. I've had to re-record this start of this video probably 10 times at this point, so I'm going to skip the pleasantries. I'm just going to say outright, we're doing this differently than I've been doing the other videos. Instead of talking about the team and then going pick by pick, starting with the first one, ending with the last one, we're just jumping straight into Jackson Dart, because this is the pick I have the most thoughts on, is obviously going to be the most controversial take from this video, and it's the only guy that I'm not going to, be all sunshine and rainbows about, because I do love the rest of the Giants class. If you don't like my opinion on Jackson Dart, if you're a Giants fan, I promise you'll love what I have to say about Abdul Carter, Darius Alexander, Cam Scatterbu, Marcus Bowe, Thomas Fidone, and Corey Black. I promise you'll be happy with what I have to say about them. All right, there's going to be a cut there. I don't know how abrupt it's going to be. I apologize if it was, but I have to re-record this Dart bit because I have changed the grade, not because of like any new information or anything really to do with Dart. I just kind of sat down and I was like, do I really want to give this an F, which was my initial grade? And I decided I don't. Again, not so much because of Dart as a player, but because my criteria for an F should be a lot harsher than I thought the value was terrible, and it's a quarterback I think can be mediocre at best. An F grade should either be a completely morally bankrupt pick, which has been the only F I've given out all year to the Baltimore Ravens, and spoiler alert, I'm going to do the same for Buffalo, or it should be a player that I just don't see a world where they become anything in the NFL, and I don't think that's the case for Dart. I think Dart can be a perfectly mediocre starter or a really nice backup. That being said, though, the way I'm going to do this, because I have had to re-record this a couple times due to not being able to get my thoughts together, is I'm just going to read through my notes here, and then we'll talk about the things kind of surrounding the pick, because I do have a lot to say. So, with that said, getting into my notes here, Dart, only 22 years old, 6'2", 223 pounds. He's got that prototypical NFL frame. He's got a passable NFL arm. Not great, and we'll talk about some of the way he's limited in terms of arm talent, but it's fine. He's a good athlete. He's a notable rusher, so he'll give you, the ability to create, whether it's as a scrambler or on designed QB runs. He can be very effective there. Super tough competitor, easily the most attractive part of his game, who is willing to either play through injury or take hits or step into pressure to deliver a throw. You saw that in the first preseason game with the big touchdown to, who was it, Lil Jordan Humphrey. Obviously, he's tough as nails. No one's taken that from him. He's got a very quick, snappy release, which helps when he's trying to work in the quick game. He can also be pretty accurate in the short to intermediate ranges of the field when everything comes together mechanically, and we'll talk more about that in a second. He's capable of throwing with touch. He shows the ability to climb the pocket from time to time, and buy a little bit of time to, deliver a throw, whatever he needs to do. He's capable of making plays on the run. He sets up receivers for opportunities after the catch, and he's got a lot of starting experience in college. I know that matters to a lot of people. That being said, though, a lot of really bad decision-making moments on tape, plenty of moments that you just sit there and go, what was he thinking? What are you doing? Struggles to consistently throw with velocity, which does play into that arm talent. He's a very slow processor after the ball is snapped. He struggles to get to that second, third, or fourth read. He usually stares down his first target, which ironically you also saw on that little Jordan Humphrey touchdown. His accuracy as a whole is pretty spotty. His pocket presence is subpar. He's got good poise in the pocket, which plays into that toughness, but I feel like his ability to navigate the pocket and feel pressure is not exactly where it needs to be. His mechanics are a mess, especially his footwork. Nothing is in sync. It's all over the place. That's going to hurt his accuracy, and it obviously is something that needs to improve if he's going to be an NFL quarterback. He's also very inconsistent when it comes to throwing with anticipation. He's just not an anticipatory thrower at all. He needs to see it to throw it, and that needs to be fixed unless you're going to find ways to scheme around that, and that greatly limits your offense. He also played in a very gimmicky, quick-tempo offense at Ole Miss, so he's not exactly equipped with the tools to go into an NFL offense and succeed. It's just night and day from that kind of offense to a real NFL offense. And then as a whole, I just don't think he has the highest upside. He's a very limited player in terms of upside, in my opinion. So the reasons I don't like this pick: I thought the value was terrible. I had an early 5th round grade on Dart. You trade up to take him in the 1st round. I understand why they traded up to get him. You want to get that 5th-year option. I understand that. That does not matter in the sense that I don't think he's worth getting that 5th-year option for. Additionally, I thought there were better quarterbacks on the board. If you wanted someone that's going to walk in day one and, improve your quarterback room, Shedeur Sanders was there. Tyler Shuck was there. I know he wasn't everyone's cup of tea, but I was a big Shuck guy. And hell, even Kyle McCord in your own backyard at Syracuse, I thought would have been a better pick. Or if you wanted someone more on the developmental side of things, someone that Dable can help grow and, turn into your potential franchise quarterback. Will Howard, I feel, has higher upside and a higher floor than Jackson Dart. And also Jalen Milroe, obviously, with his unreal traits. Now, I do want to say, just as a whole with the quarterbacks, I was not a big fan of this class. I did not have a true 1st round grade on a single quarterback this year. So I'm comparing Dart, who I think can be mediocre, to guys who I think can be good, probably not great. Milroe could be great if everything comes together, but he's got a lot of room to grow. So I will say that to Dart's credit. It's not like it's a massive gap, but I do feel like those guys would have been better picks. And on top of that, this move just felt very desperate. You look at the Giants right now, you would have been fine running it for a year with Russ. Just let him cook for a year. I really have confidence that Dable could have made him a middle-of-the-pack starter, and you can ride the defense into the sunset. And the next year, you throw everything at going to get a quarterback for the long term, right? Now, obviously, we don't know who the top quarterbacks will be next year because guys always come out of the woodwork, but on paper, guys like Garrett Nussmeier, Arch Manning, if he decides to declare, Lenoris Sellers, any of those guys with the reputation they have currently would have been better picks than Jackson Dart and easily could be potential franchise quarterbacks. I would have much rather have seen the Giants say, we're going to take a break this year. We got off of Daniel Jones. We're just going to kind of, again, ride the defense into the sunset, and then Dable can get his guy next year. That would have been very, very preferable for me. Instead, they feel like, in my opinion, panic and make this pick out of desperation so Dable can immediately say, look, it wasn't my fault, okay? Daniel Jones sucked. I've got Dart. You guys got to give me at least 3 years now. You got to give me 3 years so I can prove that Dart's going to be the chosen one. And I don't love that for them. I don't love the pick. That being said, I do think with Dable, because I do really like Brian Dable, that Dart can become a fine starter. And maybe that's all you want, New York. Maybe you're just desperate for some kind of consistency that you haven't had since Eli left. but that just feels weak. You know, it's easy for me to sit here in my chair and say that teams need to take the big swings and whatnot, and know that I'm not gonna like lose a job over taking a big swing or whatever. But I do feel in the long term they would have been better off going a different direction. But I can't see a world where Dart can become a starting caliber quarterback. Maybe not one that you're gonna win a ring with, but one that can keep you feisty, keep you scrappy, keep you competitive, and maybe if you build an elite team around him, just like an absolutely absurd roster around him, they can elevate him and maybe something crazy can happen a couple years down the line. I'd love to be wrong. I'm not rooting against Jackson Dart by any means, but I can't sit here and sing the praises of this pick or get behind this pick when I really did not like the process, really thought there were better prospects on the board. It is what it is. I still went over the 5 minutes I was supposed to give myself, but I'm going to keep this one. I think this is a good culmination of my thoughts on the pick. Again, I want to be wrong. I cannot make that clear enough. And Giants fans, I really hope you guys don't let me like sway you too much, because I like that you're all excited about him. But at the end of the day, I cannot sit here and lie and not give my honest opinion on the player and the move, and I just don't see it. But what I do see is that the Giants' defensive line is going to be disgusting next year, because after already having Brian Burns and Dexter Lawrence and also Kayvon Thibodeau, who is a very solid edge rusher, you bring in Abdul Carter and Darius Alexander, who we'll talk about in a second, but Abdul Carter obviously is the crown jewel of this draft class. In my opinion, easily one of the 5 best players in the class. I had an early first round grade on him. He was my number 1 edge rusher. And with Abdul Carter, I was not singing his praises as aggressively as a lot of people. Like, I've seen people saying this is the best edge prospect to come out in the last couple years. I didn't inherently agree with that. And it's because I don't think he's like a scheme versatile pass rusher. To me, Abdul Carter is not somebody that you want playing with his hand in the dirt in a 4-3. But thankfully, the New York Football Giants do not run a 4-3 defense. They run a 3-4. Abdul Carter for a 3-4 defense is the perfect edge prospect. Just everything you want. I'm going to read the blurb that I have in my notes, and then I'll add a couple things, and we'll get out of here with Abdul Carter, because you all know who this is, right? So this is what I have written as my summary, my write-up for Abdul Carter in my notes for the draft. Abdul Carter is on track to be the perfect 3-4 edge rusher for the modern NFL. He's an unreal athlete, he sees the field very well, he can be a legit coverage player, and he showed a lot of growth as a pass rusher throughout his lone year at the position in college. Assuming he continues on this trajectory, he's going to be a household name very quickly. That being said, however, he does have real limitations. His frame is going to be the deal breaker for a lot of NFL teams. He's simply too small and not strong enough to serve as a defensive end in an even front. His frame also hinders his ability as a run defender, as he will get washed out of plays far too often. It is really unfortunate, as it is clear Carter knows what he needs to do as a run defender every play. It is just a matter of whether or not his frame will hold up while setting the edge or maintaining gap discipline. That being said, teams who run an odd front are in luck, as Carter is the perfect fit. Keep his hand out of the dirt, put him next to some legit space eaters, let him shoot gaps, and reap the benefits of consistent 10-plus sack seasons. And then I also had in there that Carter should absolutely be in play for the Titans at number 1. Thankfully for the Giants, they didn't go that route. So I love Abdul Carter. He is absolutely incredible. Obviously an unreal athlete, very high motor player who chases ball carriers down in the open field and gets second and third effort sacks. First step is great. He shoots gaps like in an instant. He's lightning quick off the ball. Play recognition and eye discipline rock. He's fully capable of setting the edge against tight ends and even some smaller tackles as a run defender. His reactive quickness is great. He has a nasty inside spin move that gives him damn near full custody of the B gap on a consistent basis. He flashes elite bend. He has notable coverage flexibility given his history at off-ball linebacker. And he's a great communicator who is often seen instructing teammates and putting them in favorable positions. And I want to make it clear, like, I had some things in that write-up, that blurb, about his run defense. most of what I said is really only if he were to get drafted by a team that ran an even front. Because Abdul Carter has some of the best run diagnostics in this class among edge rushers. He's just a super smart player who reads the field very, very well. And so lining up as an outside linebacker where he is going to get the benefit of some of these big guys eating space, allowing him to shoot gaps or just come in screaming off the edge with his hair on fire, that kind of stuff really isn't going to be a problem. Instead, you're going to get this super hyperactive, smart, athletic freak, like I said, screaming off the edge, shooting gaps, whatever, that can blow up running backs in the backfield, that can get to the quarterback quickly. Abdul Carter's a freak. Easy A, one of the best players in this class, a perfect fit for the Giants, and the trio of him, Thibodeau, and Brian Burns is disgusting. Quite frankly, it should be illegal, but thankfully for the New York Football Giants, it is not. Then in the third round, I already alluded to him, the big boy, the freak, Darius Alexander, the defensive tackle out of Toledo, someone that I am very, very excited about for the Giants. Take a look here, 6'4", 305 pounds, 34-inch arms. He's got the frame you want to see for an NFL defensive tackle and the length as well at over 34-inch arms. He possesses notable athletic tools with a very explosive first step. He plays his ass off as a pass rusher and brings a very infectious energy to the field. It's just apparent on a down-to-down basis. When he's amped, the rest of the defense is amped, and it makes everybody play better. He pairs his length with heavy hands and above-average play strength for a very formidable bull rush as a pass rusher. He can stack and shed against the run thanks to his length and active hand usage. He had some truly dominant reps at the point of attack against higher competition in college. He's capable of shooting gaps and making plays in the backfield against the run. He has a solid arsenal of moves to pair with that bull rush as a pass rusher, and he consistently gets his hands into passing windows to bat down passes. That being said, on the flip side, not a lot of negatives to talk about here. He's on the older side. He's turning 25 this month in August, which isn't ideal, but given that he is a pretty polished prospect, I don't think that's the end of the world by any means. His diagnostics and technique against the run do need some polish, do need some refinement. There's going to be times where he's just not looking in the right spot or fails to get himself in the right position. Certainly not ideal, but his job's going to be a lot easier in that front, and we'll talk about that in a second. His leg drive isn't great against the run, and there were times in college where he did get washed up the line against like double teams and combo blocks and things of that nature. But thankfully, playing for the New York Giants, he's never going to have to worry about a double team again. They've got Dexter freaking Lawrence. You put this guy next to Dexter Lawrence, and honestly, some of the other guys on this defensive line too. Roy Robertson Harris is someone that I've always been a big fan of, Bears legend. And then Rakeem Nunez-Roches, just with his sheer size as a defensive lineman. It's going to be rare that Darius Alexander's double-teamed and isn't just in a one-on-one situation where he can stack and shed quickly and shoot a gap. Playing next to Dexter Lawrence is a dream come true for any defensive tackle, but for Darius Alexander specifically, it is exactly what he needs to be his best self. I still think he'd be very good with another team, but playing next to Dexter Lawrence just takes all of his traits and amplifies them by 10. So I'm very, very excited to see what he's going to do with the Giants. I'm honestly more excited for him than I am Abdul Carter. Carter's going to be a freak. He's going to be a stud. We all know that. But Alexander is going to be one of those guys where there's some people out there that are like, who the hell is this kid from Toledo? And he's racking up like 6, 7, 8 sacks with a bunch of run stuffs because he's able to quickly toss his guy to the side. And he's just, like the perfect running mate for Dexter Lawrence, as I said. So definitely very, very excited about that defensive line. I think it's going to be absolutely unstoppable this year. Then in the fourth round, they took one of my favorite players in the entire class. Honestly, broke my heart at the start of day 3 that he went to the Giants. Not because I have anything against the Giants, just because I wanted him in Chicago as a part of my Bears. That player, of course, is the man, the myth, the legend, Cam Skattebo, the running back out of Arizona State. But what is there not to like about Skattebo, man? He's built like a damn bowling ball. He's only 5'9.5", but 219 pounds, makes him real short and stout, and he just bounces off of guys. It's like, I guarantee if you put a drone over top of some of his runs at Arizona State, it would look like a game of Plinko. Like, it would literally look like the ball bouncing around on the pegs because of how well he's able to bounce off tackles. He plays light on his feet and possesses very good short area quickness to pull off jump cuts, switch lanes, or make guys miss behind the line of scrimmage. He has great play strength and an overall power profile that is very, very good. He has notable leg drive that pairs with a high motor and just an intense play style that make him an absolute pain to bring down. Very well could have had the best contact balance in the entire class. It was between him and Ashton Genty. He fights for yards after contact and can push the pile in short yardage situations consistently. He has fantastic vision and a very patient mindset that allow him to help set up blockers and manipulate defenders at the second level. Out of the backfield, he has natural hands and good route running that make him a legitimate threat as a pass catcher. And also, not the biggest guy in the world, as I said, but he's a very willing pass blocker. He's not afraid to jump up and hit somebody, do whatever he needs to do to keep the quarterback clean, which is obviously very, very good to see. On the flip side of things, he's not the fastest guy in the world. We know that. Ran a 4.6 at his pro day. That might limit his upside, but you're not drafting him to be a home run hitter. You're asking him to be the Thunder to Tyrone Tracy's Lightning, who was an absolute stud for the Giants last year. Additionally, he does take a few extra steps to hit that top speed. His acceleration isn't great. You'd also like to see his ball security and his technique as a pass blocker improve. Like, as a pass blocker specifically, there's times where he will dip his head and, he'll struggle to sustain blocks because he doesn't have long arms that allow him to get up in somebody's chest. And then the other, big thing with Cam Skattebo is he's 23 with a ton of tread on his tires, and he runs super hard, super physical. So there could be instances where durability becomes a problem if he starts racking up those injuries. But obviously that's not like a Cam Skattebo exclusive thing. It's just the reality with some of these power backs. So any power back you're going to take is going to have that kind of concern. But he's just so exciting, man. I love Skattebo. I'm so excited to see how he's going to play in New York. That running back room of him and Tyrone Tracy, and obviously Devin Singletary's there too, but I don't care about Devin Singletary in that room. Tyrone Tracy was a stud last year. Double checking real quick, he had 839 yards on the ground, averaged over 4 a carry, had 284 through the air. So that's 1,000 yards out of a 5th rounder last year. And honestly, depending on how the split ends up, I think you could get 1,000 yards out of a 4th rounder this year with Cam Skattebo because he is just different. I love him. I love that pick. Again, heartbroken he's in New York, not as a slight to Giants fans, but because I would have given anything to see him in the navy and orange in Chicago. But I digress. I'm just excited to see him playing in the NFL in general. Moving then to the 5th round, staying on the offensive side of the ball, they took Marcus Bowe, the offensive lineman out of Purdue. And looking at ESPN, it looks like Marcus Bowe's listed as a tackle. I think he projects better as a guard, but obviously he does have that experience there, so we will see what ends up being the move for Marcus Bowe. So taking a look at my notes on him here, by guard standards, he has a very good frame at 6'4", 302 pounds with 32.5-inch arms. By tackle standards, not so much. He has notable athletic tools and movement skills to climb to the second level or block out in space. He's a very high IQ player who can pick up on stunts and has a great understanding of angles in the run game. He has flashes of exceptional play strength. It's not consistent, but it's definitely in there, definitely something you feel you can cultivate and make a more consistent part of his game. He's a quality hand fighter who can deploy his strong hands to jolt defenders upright or latch on with really good grip strength. And as a run blocker, he's downright nasty, does awesome work on the move. That being said, though, his hands and his feet are out of sync pretty consistently. That is something that's going to need to improve. His pad level and lack of overall core strength really hurt his anchor, but those things can be fixed. I talked about this the other day when I made my Commanders video. Roger Rosengarten last year was a player who I did not love coming out of Washington because of a very similar thing. He played with high pad level and his core strength was very bad. His rookie year with the Ravens, he came out, looked like a different monster because he was a straight up technician as a hand fighter. If Marcus Bowe can do the same thing, if he can marry his hands and his feet and really sync up and become a technician, then I have no doubt that he can minimize the impact of that anchor. Now, sure, if he goes up against one of these freaks that can just bull rush him, then the anchor's still going to matter a little bit. And even then, if he can just improve his pad level, consistently get lower, then he can minimize the impact his lack of core strength really has on his anchor. So So there is definitely a path to improvement there. It's just, as of right now, certainly not ideal. Additionally, he struggles to consistently sustain blocks in the run game. He's going to go out there and flatten guys on the move, but if you have him block head up, there are going to be times where he's just going to get shed quickly, and it's because of that lack of length. These defenders with 34-inch arms are going to be able to extend, get their hands in his chest quicker than he can get his hands on them, and it's going to cause some problems for him. His hand placement also lands a little wide for my liking, and his consistency as a whole needs to improve. But you're bringing him in right away as a backup to Jermaine Eluemunor. I really feel that he has all the tools to develop into a real starter. Obviously, we're talking about a 5th round pick here. If you get anything out of him for a sustained period of time, then you're feeling very good about it. But I had a late 3rd to an early 4th round grade on him here and had him listed as a developmental player with starting upside. So I really do think Marcus Bowe has the ability to eventually work himself into a starting role with the Giants, whether it be a tackle or guard, or maybe they want to even get freaky and move him to center at some point. I don't know. It depends on how John Michael Schmitz continues to develop. But either way, definitely a very good pick in the 5th round. I like the player. I like the fit. Love the value, obviously. So that's another A+ for me. Moving then to the 7th round, they made 2 picks, the first of which was Thomas Fedone, the tight end out of Nebraska. And I like Fedone. I had a early to mid 4th round grade on him. You get him here in the 7th round. That value is incredible. Talking about a guy who's 6'5", 243 pounds, a little bit on the lanky side, but with 34-inch arms. Someone who has the height and length you want to see for this position. He's really good quickness and build-up speed. He can stretch the field. He can play up the seam and make plays downfield. He's a willing blocker who might not be able to handle like defensive linemen, but he can certainly get up in a linebacker or a DB's face and move them off the ball as a run blocker. He has very soft, reliable hands that border on elite. His length gives him a notable catch radius and allows him to consistently high point the football. He's a fluid route runner with the ability to sink his hips and break quickly. He's capable of beating linebackers and getting up the seam, as I already kind of alluded to. He understands zone coverages very well and can sit down in soft spots to exploit them. He's also very crafty after the catch. All that being said, though, he isn't going to be an inline tight end. He lacks the blocking skills and play strength and honestly overall mass to play as an inline tight end. Obviously, that doesn't matter, though. You have Theo Johnson to do that, who is going to be a stud this year. I love me some Theo Johnson. He also doesn't have the pad level or overall technique that you want to see for a blocker. Ideally, it's fine, but it could certainly improve. As a lead blocker, getting out in space, not great there either. His injury history also isn't great with 2 ACL tears to his name. As a deep threat, there are going to be times where he just gets lost downfield or drops a big pass. Both of those things obviously can improve with time and coaching. They're definitely not the end of the world. And I also have here in my notes that he could add like 5 to 10 pounds to his frame, but honestly, I'm sure he's going to be working as a wing tight end, and because of that, I don't see that as a huge necessity for Fedone. I mean, if he does, that would be great, but it's certainly not a necessity. I love that pick. Again, another guy that they got way after I had him. Early to a mid 4th round grade to get him here in the 7th. The value's fantastic. The player's really fun. I really like the fit next to my boy Theo Johnson, who I already mentioned. Just all in all, very, very nice pick. And finally, at the end of the 7th round, they go out and get Corey Black, the corner out of Oklahoma State. And I'm going to be honest, I don't know a whole lot about him or his game. I watched a little bit of him, didn't get to him pre-draft, watched a game or two post-draft. And I'm mainly grading this on the traits. Like, this is a fast corner who's 6 foot, has good length, knows how to weaponize that length. So taking a swing on that here at the end of the 7th round. He also had some special teams experience in college. So, you're hoping at this point you're getting someone that can make the roster. And I think Corey Black could definitely make the roster as like a gunner or as a depth defensive back. So there also weren't any corners that I was like willing to sit here and pound the table for or anything like that. Just a dart throw on a guy with some good traits. Definitely cannot complain there. But as a whole, I do really, really like this class. I love the Carter and Alexander picks for the defense. Cam Skattebo is one of my favorite players in the entire class and is going to be one of my favorite players in the league day one. Marcus Bowe, I see the upside with for sure, and I thought they got great value. Same thing with Thomas Fadone. Corey Black could make this roster. There's just so many guys here who I'm a fan of, who I really like, or is just objectively a great prospect. But Jackson Dart, unfortunately, at the end of the day, is going to bring this grade down a lot. Based on my grading scale, technically, this should be a B, but because of how perfect the other picks were, right? Because my grading scale is based off of numbers. Those numbers don't take like personal, I don't want to say biases, but human input into account. That human input is going to bump this up to a B+. I can't go any higher than that, but I am happy to bump it up to a B+ because of how perfect these other picks were and how perfect they fit in the Giants organization with their future plans, things like that. So I love this class. I'm really excited to see some of these guys in the league, and I really, really cannot overstate. I hope Jackson Dart proves me wrong. I want to be wrong. Like, you can go back and look at some of my videos from this past year. I have happily admitted that two guys in particular that I was very low on, at least compared to the consensus, they outright proved me wrong. And I was happy at the beginning of those videos to be like, yeah, you know, my bad. I missed on that one. I hope I do the same thing for the Giants next year. I really, really do. Although, maybe we won't find out as soon as next year because Jackson Dart is going to be a couple years in the making. But, yeah, that is going to do it for this video. I hope you all enjoyed. If you did, please make sure to leave a like down below, as it does help out the channel a ton. It shows your support, it shows you care, and I really do appreciate it. And also make sure to subscribe for more NFL content coming your way throughout the rest of August into the regular season. We're so close. And then also beyond, you know, I don't plan on quitting this anytime soon, obviously. And also make sure to let me know down in the comments below what you thought about this class. Is there anyone you were higher on, maybe someone you were lower on, anything like that? Please let me know. If you're a Giants fan that loves Jackson Dart, please let me know what I'm missing, because I would love to hear the hopium, right? Not the copium, the hopium, right? The upside, the like, I am optimistic that this is going to work out. I want to hear those opinions, because I hate being negative. I really do. But, you know, I gotta be honest. And what I saw is what I saw. So, either way, the point is, please let me know down in the comments below what you thought about this video, about these players, etc., etc. And yeah, that is going to do it for this video. I hope you all enjoyed, as that is the most important thing here. And I hope you all have a wonderful day, evening, night, afternoon, whatever time of day it is for you. I hope you enjoy it, because you're all wonderful people and you truly do deserve it.
Had a chance on the throwback. This was an ill-advised throw. What an unbelievable catch by Cole Kmet. And he cups it too. No movement when he hits the ground, tucked up against his shoulder.
Wow. Using that